Am I the asshole for telling my friend her fiance's breath smelt like shit on the day of their wedding, resulting in me being thrown out? I, 31 female, have been friends with my friend, 30 female, since we were 9. Around 6 years ago she met her husband, 34 male, through online dating and they've been together since. 2 years ago he proposed and my friend immediately asked me to be a bridesmaid, which I was excited about. I've never had any prior issues with her husband, however, if I'm honest, the first thing I noticed about him was that he had terrible personal hygiene. Dirt under his nails, body odor, brown stains on his teeth with inflamed gums, and his breath smelled pretty bad anytime I got in a downward stream of it. I never mentioned this to him or my friend, it was just an observation and I certainly did not want to upset anyone by approaching the subject with either of them. My friend's hygiene is also slightly lacking but nowhere near as bad as her husband. Since they had gotten together, his hygiene never improved. I was a little concerned about the wedding leading up, but I was mostly expecting him to surprise us on the day by showering and brushing his teeth. My friend didn't have a maid of honor, and as it was a relatively small wedding, had asked each bridesmaid to take on a role within the wedding to make it easier for her on the day. I was 1000% ready for whatever task she gave me and was happy to do this for her. She asked me to keep the time on the day of the ceremony, make sure everyone was where they needed to be at the right time, including the groom. At the time, I was elated by this. I envisioned myself with a clipboard and a Bluetooth earpiece. On the day of the ceremony, it became clear this was just a fantasy. I spent 90% of the morning texting and phoning people to make sure they were on their way, doing what they needed to do. My friend and the bridal party, including me, were staying in a hotel my friend would be marrying in and getting ready there. My friend's husband was getting ready with his best man at my friend's house. I tried texting and calling him for a couple hours with no answer. I tried the best man and again got his voicemail. The wedding was about an hour and a half away. I didn't want to stress my friend by telling her he wasn't responding to my texts, but I was a little concerned they might have been drinking the night before and had overslept. I made the official decision I was just going to drive to my friend's house to make sure everything was okay and that they were on track to being on time. Get the green light and then head straight back to the hotel. I'd been first up for hair and makeup and everything was running smoothly at the hotel. I made some last-minute calls on the 20-minute drive there, including to her husband who was still not picking up. When I got to the house, I could hear video game gunshots as I was ringing the doorbell. As soon as he came to the door, I could tell he hadn't showered or brushed his teeth. He wasn't dressed. I was pretty angry that he'd been ignoring my calls but didn't want to argue with him on his wedding day. I asked him if he would be getting showered and dressed soon. He told me he didn't need to shower and that he just needed to put his suit on 5 minutes before they were due to leave. I didn't even hesitate, I just kind of blurted it out as I needed to get back to the hotel. I said something along the lines of, "No offense, dude, but I can smell you from here. You've got enough time. Get in the shower and hop to it. You've got 30 minutes. I'd said it in what I thought was a friendly way and didn't mean to offend him. But he went red and just said okay. I felt awkward and tried to backtrack a little and told I was just kidding around, but I knew it was too late. We awkwardly said bye and then I drove back to the hotel. The wedding went ahead as planned. I got back to the hotel in time. My friend's husband did shower, brush his teeth, and even put on deodorant. However, a few hours into the reception, my friend, the bride, storms over to me and asks to speak to me in the lobby of the hotel. She said he told her what happened and that the way I spoke to him was disgusting and disrespectful, that I'd made him feel embarrassed and insecure on his wedding day and that he'd be more comfortable if I left. I explained that I'd not meant to upset him, but also that an hour before the wedding her husband was unshowered and not dressed. I also said that as she'd put me in charge of timekeeping everyone on the day, it's something I'd taken seriously and I wanted to make sure the groom was dressed and not late. She said I was a control freak and that it was her wedding, not mine. I told her that wasn't the situation and that he wasn't nervously awaiting the wedding, excited. He was playing video games with the best man, barely even acknowledging that it was his wedding day. At this point, she started shouting at me about how dare I try turn this round on her husband. She wouldn't let me reason with her or even hear me out. She was actually being quite rude. Ended up telling her that her fiance didn't want to shower on the day of his wedding. He smelt bad. His breath smelt like shit and he didn't care about the fact his bride had to smell him later or something along those lines with some added profanity. I stormed to the room to go get my things and checked out. I haven't spoken to her since. I'm not sure if I overreacted and should have just left and let her cool off. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next story.